I genuinely believe these are the most important podcast episodes ever created. This is part 16 of our 14-part investigation into the truth and universal principles for a good human life. Today, we're talking about intentionality and honesty. Being intentional is the difference between being weird and being cool. If you wear your clothes on the wrong way, without knowing you're doing it the wrong way or without knowing that you're meant to wear them the other way, that's weird. But if you do it on purpose with some kind of reason, even if it's just to do it because you want to, that's a lot cooler. It's not weird anymore, it's a statement. The foundation for real change is being intentional and honest with yourself. The only way you can actually change your life is if you're honest with yourself and tell yourself, well, my life sucks. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I want to be doing something else. But if you lie to yourself, if you're deceptive and you tell yourself, oh, this is exactly the life I want. I'm happy with my shit 9 to 5 that I don't enjoy, with my horrible wife and my 0 kids because she doesn't want any, then your life will not change because you tell yourself that it's fine, even if it's not. And so the moment you lie to yourself, that's the exact moment when all possibility of change is gone. Any possibility of improvement is thrown out the window when you decide to lie to yourself. Self-deception is the point of no return until you repent and face reality again. You want to always be honest with yourself. You might not be in shape. You're fat. Get in shape. You might not be rich. Make money. You need to always be honest with yourself. And one thing I also noticed is that good writing is also a form of honesty. If you look at Orwell, Hemingway, and Bukowski, 3 great authors, one thing they had in common was that they all basically said the same thing, which was to write well, you just say the truth and don't overcomplicate it. Just say the truth and don't overcomplicate it. Therefore, be honest. Truth is the core ethic. Tell the truth to yourself first, always, and then extend it outward, where you get the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would them do unto you, meaning you tell the truth. Not because you wish to be spared or pitied, but because anything else you just can't sit with or sleep at night having done. And here before you, for your life, you have 2 paths. You have the already paved path, like the one I'm walking on at the moment, which is the one society expects. It's more comfortable, it's more safe. The only problem is it leads to regret, because for most people, you don't really want to be walking on this path. You'd much rather be walking in the forest among the trees and actually discovering new things, going the way you want to. But that's more complicated. It's a lot harder. People think you're weird for trying to go off of the beaten path because most people just go on the beaten path. The beaten path leads to a ditch of regret and mediocrity. The hard, unpaved, obstacle-filled path is steeper and riskier. If you're trying to climb up a mountain, you can basically either go through the valley, which doesn't actually get you to the peak of the mountain, but it's easier and that's where most people go. Or you could take the path that goes up among the rocks, through the trees, surrounded by animals that might want to hurt you. But that's the only way you can reach the peak and actually see the view, see the beauty in the world. You can't see the beauty in the world if you're just head down walking the path you've been told to walk down. And often the harder option is the right option. The path that climbs higher gives the better view. And also very often what is hard in the short term, which might be deciding to veer off into this or that path and not follow everybody else, is going to be much, much, much more rewarding in the long run than the reward you can get in the moment. That's basically instant versus delayed gratification explained in 10 seconds. For example, you could have the very slight pleasure of eating candy or junk food, McDonald's, whatever, right now, which feels good, yeah, fills the gap, it fills the boredom, but in the long run will not feel good when you're obese, out of shape, can barely breathe, can't go outside. Or you could skip that small pleasure and then get the immense sense of fulfillment, happiness, satisfaction with having a healthy body that allows you to locomote your way around the world. It's an unfair trade. It's just most people choose the former because it's right now. We are creatures of the right now. It's really hard to contextualize us in the future because we only care about right now. But if you do, the rewards are plenty, much more than any reward you could get right now. And then when you get to that point, the same thing still applies. The rewards in the future will always be much greater than those you can gain instantly right now. And what is easy in the moment usually makes the future harder. Your current position is the direct result of your past path choices. And it's never too late to change paths. And so living an intentional and honest life means you need to take full ownership of your life. That means your faults, your problems, and life directions are your responsibility alone. A very good way to live life is to take responsibility and basically put the blame on yourself for everything bad in your life and be grateful for everything good in your life. Don't take responsibility for the good, take responsibility for the bad, and thank the world for having given you the good in your life. Most people, you might notice, have the inverse. They blame everything bad on everyone else, and they take responsibility for the good in their life. Are most people happy? Would you like to be like most people? If you do, then feel free to do what they do. But I have a feeling if you're anything like me, which you probably are if you're listening to this, you don't want to be like most people. Therefore, you don't do what most people do. And so that also means you need to choose where you want your life to go, because that's the only way to live a fulfilling life. A successful life, even a successful life, if it is not your own, will never be fulfilling. It will never scratch that itch that you will always have if you don't live a life true to yourself. Why would you live someone else's life when you can live your own? Most people simply don't have the courage, especially when the life they want looks drastically different from the norm. A life lived to someone else's wishes is full of regret. Going to school, doing the degree other people want you to do, the one you don't want to do, is going to lead to regret. You'll always think, what if I had done that thing that I'd wanted to do? Whereas even if you fail at what you wanted to do, at least you'll know you tried. If you're on your deathbed and you always wanted to be an artist and you did try to be an artist, you painted things, but nothing ever worked out, you won't think, oh man, what would have happened if I was an accountant? Maybe you'll think that, but you'll think, man, am I glad that at least I had the courage to try be an artist. Even if that meant I had to starve or be on the streets from time to time, I'm glad I tried. If you realize you've been living someone else's life, there is no one to blame but yourself. You must live as if your dad is dead. Do you feel any sort of weight being lifted from your shoulders? Do you finally feel free to pursue what you actually want? Your dad is just an example, but it's a very powerful one, especially if you grew up with yours in the household, all these expectations. If you imagine he was just dead for a second, do you suddenly feel like you're free to pursue what you actually wanted to and not what he expects of you? And imagine if everyone else whose approval you crave no longer exists. What would you do? Would you still live this exact life? Realizing it's your life and you are free to do what you wish is one of the most freeing moments a person can feel, alongside with enlightenment, which is realizing there is no meaning in the world, which frees you from having to do anything you don't want to do, because why would you? It's not like you gain any sort of cosmic meaning by doing what everybody else wants you to do or everybody else is doing. So you might as well do what you actually want to do. Play it writer and starve, as Bukowski would say. A life lived to the expectations of others is a miserable one. And even people who seem to have your best interest at heart either don't actually care or care in a self-absorbed way. How your choices affect them or how they look to others. Now, your parents are probably the only exception, which is they just want what's best for you and they just don't know that what is best for you is doing what you actually want to do with your life, not what is safe. We grow up in a society that, especially the fatherless societies, where you grow up without a father figure, and whenever you try to do something adventurous, whenever you run fast or you try to climb a tree, you're always told, oh no, that's dangerous, come back down here. And you do. And you think, oh, dangerous is bad. Danger is bad, risk is bad, safety is good, comfort is good. And then what does that lead to? That leads to 20 years down the line when you're choosing what you want to do with your life. Do you either be risky, be dangerous and play it artist, or do you be safe and become an accountant? Be safe. Safe is good, right? And then we have a generation of young men who are afraid to do anything other than what is expected or other than what is done by everybody else. A generation of young men too afraid to live their own lives whilst accusing others of doing exactly that. You must honestly think about what you want to do with your life and pursue it with your whole heart. This is the only way you can give your full gift to the world. The men who gave the world the biggest gifts rarely went along with what everybody else was doing out of fear of sticking out. You build the life you want to live, and because no one else will. Your life outcomes are dictated by your own decisions. So how do you make better decisions? Every action is actually just a cost-benefit analysis. Every decision you make is just weighing up the pros and cons subconsciously. Like, what do I get from this and what do I potentially get from this? What do I lose from this and what do I potentially stand to lose from this? You choose the option with the most pros and the least cons. And so a good thing to keep in mind when making decisions is using the regret minimization framework, which is basically placing regret as one of the biggest, most weighty and dangerous cons you can have in a decision. Let's take the example of becoming an accountant if you want to be an artist, or an engineer if you want to be an artist. The pros of being an engineer are supposed job safety, and I put that in quotes because you never know what's going to happen. You have AI and everything, but supposed job safety. People are going to applaud you. They're going to say, wow, you're so smart because you're an engineer and you've done all this studying. And what else? You'll make good money. You'll be safe. It'll be comfortable. But what is the potential risk of that? You won't be able to do artist. You won't like your life as much. Your eyes will shine a little less bright. But most importantly, the most weighty, the most important con you have to think about, the most important cost you have to think about is the fact that you will probably regret not having tried being an artist. If that's the case, of course. If that's not the case, then that's fine, be an engineer. But for a lot of people, you have that version for yourself. You have some kind of art you want to make. Maybe it's not art, maybe it's business, maybe it's, I don't know, sports. But you get the point. You have your version of what being an artist means for you. And you will regret it if you don't at least try. You usually regret not doing something more than actually doing something. There's studies now, apparently. I heard about one recently, but I've always known this, which is you regret the things you don't do way more often and way more than the things you do. Very rarely do you regret having asked someone out. Very rarely do you regret doing something like swimming in a massive ocean with whales or swimming with sharks or going on an adventure, even if it means you lost your leg or something. But what you often regret, especially in like the safe world we live in now, is when you didn't do something. When you didn't go on that adventure, when you didn't ask that person out, when you didn't try that thing, that business idea, when you didn't study enough. Very rarely do you regret doing something. Much more often you regret not having done something. The only times you regret having done something is when you do something that you know is bad for you. If you make a mistake, you do something and then it turns out to be bad, you very rarely regret it because in a weird way you're thankful for having learned that lesson. But if you do something repeatedly, so say smoking, playing video games, something like that, you know it's bad but you keep doing it, those are the things you regret. You regret being a vaping addict or like a smoker for so many years of your life because, oh shit, I have lung cancer now. Those are the things those are basically the only things that you do that you regret. Most other things are things you didn't do. And actually, it's not really about action or inaction. It's more of not being ruled by fear or emotions. That's what leads to regret. So that often means choosing the bolder, more audacious option. Take risk, roll the dice. The safe and unbothering life is full of regret. And you want to keep in mind there's basically two types of decisions. Type 1 decisions are very rare, but they're one-way doors. So when you go through the door, it's really hard to come back in. When you marry someone, it's quite hard to get a divorce. You can, but then they take half your money or it's really annoying and what do you do with the kids and all of that. So that's why you should think about getting married, having kids, all these big, hardly reversible decisions. You can always put the kid up for adoption, but that's annoying or more than annoying. I mean, it's heartbreaking and everything. I would imagine. And those are one-way doors, but most decisions in life are not one-way doors. Trying a business is not a one-way door. The consequences are not that high, and even if there are consequences, they're easily reversible. They don't matter that much. And type 2 decisions should be done very fast. The two-way doors, the easy to reverse, the now big consequences decisions. Whereas the type 1 decisions you should think about. Most decisions are type 2, so do them quickly. The consequences of you trying to be an artist for 1 year, taking a gap year and becoming an artist, will not be massive. Oh no, I'll be 1 year late to the job market. I won't be able to be a little slave for 1 year. Oh, what a shame. That's so sad. Most decisions are easily reversible, so you need to do them quickly, and you'll never have enough information to make a decision and feel fully safe, fully certain in your decision. You must act anyway. You don't know if being an artist will work out, but you won't know until you actually try it. You might think it might work out, you might think it won't. Just do it and see what happens. You want to filter decisions through one dominant goal per season. You're always going to have, or you always want to have, one big goal that's just a cloud over your mind, and you filter every single decision through that mission, through that goal. If your goal is to become really wealthy, is having kids right now the best idea? Probably not. If you're in a season of trying to build immense wealth, probably not the right moment. But if you want to pass down your bloodline, and that's your big mission now, then you get the point. That would be the right moment. And to make better decisions, you also want to expand the time horizon. Think about how this decision will play out in a week, a month, a year, a decade, or a lifetime. Keeping in mind that repeating today's decisions over and over will make you more likely to repeat them again. For example, when I would get back home, quite often I would just make my way to the kitchen first thing and make myself food, which isn't bad. I'm bulking, so in that way it's good. But most of the time I would just waste half an hour just making myself food, which is not worth the time because I get so many, I don't get that many calories in, and I waste half an hour of, which I can do a lot with, just kind of sitting around and relaxing. And the more I do it, the more my brain is wired to think, okay, get back home, open the door. You know how sometimes if you kind of build up the habit, when you go back home from school or work, you go to the bathroom first thing. It's almost, your brain becomes used to it and waits for that to send that signal until you get back home so it doesn't bother you otherwise. So the more you do something, the more likely you are to do it again. Obviously, you see the parallels with smoking, alcohol, and everything. But even with just bad habits or things you don't want to be doing that don't help you live the life you want to live, an intentional one that is true to yourself, beware. It's better to live a life where you made horrible choices, but they were yours, rather than good choices because society told you to. It's not about having the right argument. It's not about being right. It's about being intentional. I would much rather make the wrong decision 100 times over, but know I made my own decisions, rather than have all the right answers, but that's because the teacher helped me. That's because I listened to mommy or daddy. Probably, that's going to get clipped. But anyways, a fear-led life guarantees regret. If the decision you make is wrong and that pisses people off, it's better to lose people, which you'll lose anyway, rather than lose yourself. And so now when we talk about intentionality and honesty, we get to the obvious question of who are you? What is your authentic self? Because people always say, be authentic, but what does that actually mean? Your authentic self is the best version of yourself. I repeat, the authentic version of you is the best version of you. Authentic equals best. What is best is authentic. So you think about it. If you're talking to somebody, say you're talking to a girl, is being awkward and fiddling your thumbs and saying weird comments, is that being authentic? You might say, well, I guess that's just the way I speak, right? So I must be authentic. But is that the best version of you? I'll rephrase the question. Is that the best version of you? Probably not. If you like the girl and you want to escalate with her, being awkward doesn't help with that. Therefore, it's not the best version of you. Therefore, it's not being authentic. Being authentic would be being calm, having a nice deep voice and saying the right things, not being weird, not making weird comments. That's the best version of you. Therefore, that is the authentic version of you. Never change yourself to please anyone. This is especially difficult when it comes to women for a lot of young guys. But the moment you do, you lose yourself. And what shall it profit a man to gain the world if he loses his own soul? When people try to change you, Treat them with compassion, but disregard their warnings if you do not agree. Especially, don't listen to those who do not lead the life you want to live. A man who lives a good life, honest to his truth, constantly questions the status quo and the quote best practices. The man who never questions what he's told becomes a puppet to the whims of others. And to conclude, honestly pursuing what you want with your whole heart is how you gift your full gift to the world.